Copy, paste, and you're done. Except, why does all of a sudden every photo look wrong? Howdy y'all, in this video we're going to be covering the topic of copying edits, why it might be worthwhile to do so, and when it's better to adjust things individually. Because copying edits can save you a great deal of time, but if it's done without thinking, it can just end up not working at all and your photos just look terrible. So let's go take a look and see when it's worth doing this technique. We usually copy edits when we're working on a series from the exact same shoot. So we're talking about similar light, same location, basically the same mood. And in that case, it's gonna make total sense for the photos to look consistent. But that's where a common mistake can happen, where you just try to copy absolutely everything. Let's start with what makes sense to copy. In most cases, that's global adjustments, exposure, highlights, shadows, contrast, white balance, overall color grading, and sometimes even cropping. These edits set the base look, and if the shooting conditions are similar, it's completely fine to just copy them. With cropping though, you really need to watch your composition, unless these are tripod shots from the exact same position and angle. As a side note, if you're gonna be copying edits, especially local adjustments, just be aware that copying these things and applying them to the next photo can actually take up a lot of time. So it depends on your computer's performance, of course, but the more complex the edits you copy, and I'm mainly talking about the ones using AI masks, the longer it's going to take, especially if you apply them to a large batch of photos, or if you're using combinations of masks that subtract from each other and so on. Still, it's gonna be faster than editing every photo one by one, trust me. And now, let's finally take a look at copying local adjustments. Most photos have different composition. The main subject is in a different place and the light often changes across different parts of the frame. The moment you copy local edits, it's very easy to end up brightening or darkening in the wrong areas. But of course, it also depends on which local tools you used and what kind of photos you're editing. Let's start with a simple example, a product enhanced with a radial gradient. If I copy this edit using the radial gradient, that gradient will be applied to every photo in the exact same place, and in this case, right in the middle of the image. And now it depends on where the subject you want to highlight actually is. If I shot all product photos centered, the radial gradient is gonna fit perfectly and I can pretty much apply it everywhere. But if the subject is to the left or to the right, the radial gradient is not gonna center or match anymore, and it's just not gonna make sense. On the other hand, if you use radial gradient as a vignette to darken or brighten the edges, then yes, that's something you definitely should copy. The same thing goes if you want to use a linear gradient. For example, you're in a situation that you can see that in all your studio shots, the left corner is too dark and you want to brighten that corner. If the photos are shot from the same angle, that gradient will most likely work across the entire set. But if you're using a linear gradient to adjust the sky, like darkening it or adding more blue, make sure you always double check the mask. The horizon won't always align the same way, and sometimes trees or other objects can reach into the sky and actually affect the result. And the brush. Well, that will always be applied to the exact same spot where you used it on the first photo. So that means unless your subject is in the exact same place, ideally even at the same distance, that copied mask is probably not gonna fit. Copy color range and luminance range only if the light and color conditions are truly similar. These masks are also ideal to combine with others, like affecting a specific color or brightness only in a certain part of the photo. If you'd like a deeper dive into how to combine these two masks, let us know in the comments below. We might just make a video about it, but now let's go back to see how these can be copied. Here, where we only needed to adjust the model's skin tone without affecting the background or clothing, we'll use the color range. Now when I copy the mask to the rest of the series, you can see that only the skin tone that we selected actually gets adjusted in each photo. But if I apply the same edit to a different person and with slightly different lighting, you can see that it doesn't nearly look as good anymore. And here's where we're going to use luminance range to increase exposure only in the clouds without affecting the blue sky. And when I copy the edit in this photo, you can see the luminance range I chose was actually copied exactly. Now it can actually get a lot more complicated if we're going to be using local adjustments with AI masks. AI subject always selects the main subject in the photo, so if you copy and edit with this mask, it should copy over in a way that it finds the main subject again and applies the edits to it. And here you can see the copied edit is nicely adapted to the main subject of the new photo. Copying background edits is going to work perfectly, say, if you have a series of photographs where the model has a nicely blurred background that you want to darken. And here you can see that that edit is copied beautifully across the entire set. But if there are multiple subjects at different distances in the photo, then the copied edit might not fit perfectly every time. So in those cases, make sure you check the masks. AI Sky is going to work on a similar principle. When you paste copied edits, it creates a new sky mask based on the texture in the new photo, and it then applies your adjustments to that. Just like with other masks, it's still a good idea to check if it fits perfectly. But in most cases, the sky selection is pretty accurate. On the other hand, AI object is going to behave like the brush tool. That means it gets applied to the exact same position as on the first photo that you copied from. So again, if your subject isn't in the exact same spot, and ideally at the same distance, that copied mask is just not going to work. So in the end, you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and then you realize that all those edits made to your photos are actually completely useless. That's just not what we want. What matters is understanding that the goal of copying edits isn't for every photo to be identical. The goal is for them to feel consistent, and that's a huge difference. Copying edits should speed up your work, not actually replace your thinking. The moment you stop checking individual photos, it shows, and viewers can definitely feel that, even if they can't explain exactly why. And now that we know which masks are worth copying and which ones aren't, let's take a look in Zoner Studio and see how we can copy some of those edits on our own. At the very bottom of the right panel, click this icon for Choose Develop Module Adjustments to copy. And here you can choose whether you want to copy only the parameters we preset for you or absolutely everything. If you want to copy almost everything, but skip, for example, local adjustments, just remove them from the selection by clicking this check mark. Then use Ctrl-Shift and C to copy the edits and Ctrl-Shift and V to paste them. Copying edits is a very interesting tool, and it can be super useful, especially if you want to apply consistency across our work, and it can help us save time. But make sure that you check each individual photo because it can show up. I hope you guys liked this video. Give us a thumbs up if you did, and even if you didn't, give us a thumbs up anyway. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We love reading them, and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Till then, take care and happy copying.